my beautiful friend Stesha. I'm super excited. We are super excited to have her on today. This is just a long time coming. We haven't even known each other for that long, which is like the beautiful part of this too, how the universe just connects you with people when you start being in alignment. And it's a small world, man. We have a lot of mutual people that we didn't even know that we knew, and it's just really been a beautiful experience getting to know her over the last year. And I'm so grateful to have her on today and share her story. So if you would like to tell people a little about yourself.
Who are you?
I'm an alien. No, I'm just kidding.
I want to be all.
I'm Stesha. Honest Stesha. I'm 28 and happily divorced.
Woo, woo, woo.
Celebration. Yes.
I work in corporate America, and that's not my passion. Not excited about that. Ultimately, I would like to become a lawyer. That's my goal. I really want to focus in employment law. I think that there is a disparity of representation, especially in the state of Oklahoma for that, and for people of color, and just to be an advocate. And I think that's the best way that I can do that.
You would be absolutely amazing at that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I would hire
Pringle.
you. You said what?
I said I'm just like a single Pringle girly pop going to college.
Yeah, I love this. I love it. Killing the life game.
So what do you do in your corporate America job?
So I'm a workers' comp adjuster. I've worked in workers' comp for 8 years. I didn't really know what I was getting into. I interviewed. I would say it was like my first big girl job, and I was 22 years old, and I had an interview for risk management, and so I'm Googling like, what is risk management? Like, I don't understand, And I go into the interview, and I'm interviewing with the vice president of the company, and she looks at me and she's like, you need to be an adjuster. And I guess the position I was interviewing for was like an administrative assistant, and I was like, sure, sounds like more money, girl. Like, I'll do that. And then I was like, yeah, I became a workers' comp adjuster. They required me to become licensed, which was the best thing that could have really happened just as far as my career is concerned. And so I am licensed in the state of Oklahoma, but I've never done Oklahoma claims.
Wow.
That is crazy.
I know, it's kind of weird. So I've done like California, Washington, Oregon, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and they all have different laws.
Wow.
And you have to like know those.
Definitely.
That is, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. But you're killing it and you're doing great. They change constantly, don't they?
The laws change constantly. Okay. I mean, the rules change constantly. It's, I would say the most challenging part about it is the litigation. I believe it's every injured worker's right to become represented at any time if they feel that that's, something that's in their best interest. And that complicates things. Because now there's attorneys involved, you've got depositions, subpoenas, it can definitely be a bit overwhelming, but I would say something I really enjoy about it is being able to help. And being able to be an advocate for the people who really need that. So, I'll have, some really unfortunate situations like amputations or, third degree burns, and like, that's a very traumatic experience.
Yeah.
So to be able to provide the support that's needed for that person in that time, makes me feel good about myself.
Yeah.
Makes it worth it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. My ex went through a workers' comp case, had to have neck surgery twice to get fusions.
Wow.
And I mean, the settlement that they offered, but like,
She got screwed, basically.
yeah, like, and it was devastating because she would have to go to basically like every doctor twice, like, one for her side and then one for you know, the company's side. And
Right.
so she would have to like do everything twice, and then literally like this doctor is like, this is what needs to happen, and then this doctor's like, you know, and it's like trying to do everything to keep like this from actually like being a claim. But it was a claim, and it was on video. Like,
Wow.
she fell in a cooler at work because the tiles were messed up, and she had reported and had proof that she had reported that to corporate, saying that these tiles need to get fixed because someone is going to fall.
Right.
And sure enough, it was her. And it was like devastating, because it's like literally from that point on, like so many issues, like having carpal tunnel surgery, neck surgery, like all of this, because it was up here, like where her nerves are, you know. And that was just a really, you know, and I wish that
I deal with that.
yeah, I wish that we would have known, or you know, her would have known more about what all of that entails, because, you know, we were both very young. She was very young. It happened before we were even together. Like, so she was very young whenever it happened, and it lasted like years and years.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, it was just a couple $1,000s.
Well, and she's a woman of color, so as you were talking about, there's not a lot of advocacy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Couple $1,000s.
Yeah.
She had neck fusions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof, that's like $100,000 claim in my book.
Right. And that's like, I remember like us having conversations about like, it should be this. But then her attorney would want to settle for, you know, this, you know, $15,000.
You know what's really interesting, and I don't think a lot of people know this, so education time.
Yeah.
Workers' comp does not take into consideration pain and suffering. So when you're discussing settlement in those types of situations, a lot of people feel like, well, the quality of my life has changed. I can't do this. You know, I'm in constant pain. And all of those things may be true, but at the end of the day, it is not taken into consideration. You know, it's like your impairment rating, basically, your future medical, the likelihood that you would have to be off of work for any period of time until you can, you know, be employed again. Can you be employed again? You know, those types of things, as to opposed to a general liability case. Let's say she slipped and fell walking into a gas station, and it was truly negligent. It wasn't open and obvious, you know, the tiles were messed up, maybe the store was even aware of it. That would be something that was taken into consideration. So it's really interesting. And I would say that's one of the more challenging parts of my job, is when I'm listening to these injured workers talk to me about the quality of their life, or they'll say things like, you know, what if I want to get back to 100%, and it's like, you may never be 100%.
Yeah.
You know, that's
It's a hard
honestly,
reality.
it is a super hard reality. You know, the goal is ultimately to get you as close to baseline, or we call it maximum medical improvement, as possible. And that's a tough reality for a lot of people. So
Even with car
It's so
accidents, like with
interesting.
mine, like just because my car didn't have like its back end caved in, it was like my injuries that I sustained from that like weren't enough to like fit the claim, kind of thing, when I ended up having like permanent nerve damage, and here's $5,000, you know. And it was all because too I didn't get to claim more, or the insurance or whatever, because I didn't have uninsured motors on my insurance, so it capped out at like $25,000. But my medical bills alone during that time, for like 2 years that we were fighting with that, was like over $50,000 from
crazy.
being in constant physical therapy, seeing neurologists, all of that stuff, seeing neck surgeons, to be told I can't do anything about it because of where it's at. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, I get that. It's frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
Really
and I'm very sympathetic to that. So,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
we're glad that we have people like you doing the job that you do.
Yeah.
I mean,
And educating people on
yeah,
that, to not know, because when you don't know, you don't know. And I think a lot of people that end up being victims in these situations, like not having advocacy and for someone to walk them through that, like they can easily be manipulated.
oh, for sure.
They can be told the wrong thing, and then you just go along with it, because I think that's a part of like trusting people as humans, is we are so trusting, especially like when we're talking to doctors, or you know, talking to claims representatives or whatever, and we want to trust that you know what you're doing, because
Right.
our life is in your hands, and then getting taken advantage of sometimes, you know, and it just sucks, you know what I mean?
I would like to think that, you know, I feel like most adjusters that I know, you know, we should kind of be like Switzerland, right?
Yeah.
I feel this way about HR as well. You know, my job is to protect my client, but my job is also to take care of the injured worker, you know? And I would like to think I do a really good job at doing both of those things, you know? Because, baby, let's be real about it. There's some fraudulent folks out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some scammers.
Yeah.
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 Yep. I do.
We're gonna
believe
hang
that.
No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
You
You know,
I
and so
should
that's
have
unfortunate, you know, it's like when
Yeah.
you know that, like, you know, there's people who have fraudulent claims. I have a really funny story. An old company that I used to work for, this gentleman was like, I hurt my back. We're like, okay, you know, let's go to the doctor, let's get you checked out, you know, so he had work restrictions, and the company was able to accommodate his work restrictions. And there was just something within me that I was like, I just didn't believe you. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
So I ended up pulling surveillance of him working on his shift one day, and this man was in the back room doing burpees up and down, and then like pretending to box. Like he was kind of in his own little world there for a minute, like having a nice little time at work. But I was like, baby, that doesn't look like your back hurts.
Yeah.
And so it was really interesting. I ended up showing that surveillance to the physician. I was like, does this match up with what you're being told? And he was like, oh, I'm better. Everything's fine now. And, you know, he ended up just moving on, you know what I mean? But it's like those types of situations unfortunately do happen, and then it kind of taints the waters sometimes, I think, for the people who are like, no, my back really hurts, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just gotta,
Yeah.
I try to go into every situation with an open mind, and, you know, I don't know these people. I have no reason to not believe what you're telling me unless I have a reason to not believe what you're telling me.
You
You know,
have a strong
so.
intuition, and so, and if you would have never pulled the surveillance, then he probably would have been able to.
Oh gosh,
You know,
like it could have gone so many different ways.
Yeah, and so, but in that moment, you were just doing your job,
Right.
You know, not only for your client, but to make sure that, you know,
What he was saying
was
matching up.
correct, and that's what you're supposed to do. So kudos to you for,
Yeah.
you know, catching that, and then, you know, also being like professional about it, because I feel like I would be like, brah.
The lie detector has determined that was a lie.
Did you know that insurance fraud is a felony? It is.
Yeah. Like, you got me fucked up for 200, Alex, you know?
It's just like, I don't think so, my friend.
Yeah.
Let's get back to work, buddy.
Yeah.
I also want to be off and get a check, you know, but that's just not the way the world works, you know.
So let's talk a little bit about, I know that you are also a survivor of DV.
Domestic
So,
violence.
It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
yeah, it is.
It
It's
is.
October. Yes, and that is something that we are highlighting. If you guys haven't checked out, it doesn't come out till Monday, this Monday. Well,
Stay tuned.
the 16th. So by the time this episode comes out, you will have hopefully checked out the episode with Lindsay that we did. It was amazing, incredible, super powerful, and so we are really highlighting domestic violence and talking about what that entails, what are the signs, because for many of us that have experienced this, like we didn't know what the signs were. And Latricia and I were talking about that this morning of, you know, I think a lot of women that have been so indoctrinated with, like, especially watching like these rom-com movies and things like that, where abuse and violence is glamorized.
Sure.
That push and pull dynamic,
Right,
of
chaos.
the chaos.
Like The Godfather. It's really a good example.
It's very just
Yeah.
push and pull, and like, you know, oh, she's chasing him, and then there's all of this, you know, push and pull dynamic, and
there's always like, they'll meet, they'll fall in love, but then drama happens.
Yeah, there's
and then they
always this
separate, but then they
chaos.
come back together and then
Yeah.
happily ever after.
So that just gets so normalized and ingrained in women, and then to have like psychological abuse, I feel like is really so shoved under the rug because we're always taught, well, it's physical, you know, that is the bearer of bad news, you know what I mean?
Right.
And if it's not physical, well, it's not that bad, you know. Like my abuser had told me at one point about a story with his coworker or some guy that he knew that was like abusing his wife and shoved her into the wall and things like that. And well, at least I'm not doing that.
Right.
So, you know, someone else is worse than me, so you should be lucky
Grateful,
that I'm not
right.
shoving your head into the wall, you know, and it's like, thanks.
Yeah.
I just feel so blessed
So
for
nice
you
of
and
you.
so grateful.
Yeah, like
you
I
know?
had a family member tell me, you know, like abuse, being in domestic violent relationships is literally like a pattern with the women in my family.
Sure.
So I had a family member whose first husband was extremely physically abusive, and their child was literally like jumping on top of her father's back to get him off
That's
of
terrible.
his mother, and then they end up divorcing, and then she gets into another relationship where it's more verbal and psychological, but he's not hitting me, so it's okay.
Right.
Because then I would hear, well, you know, he used to yell at me, you know, so it's not so bad.
Right.
He used to call me a bitch all the time, you know.
Right.
Or,
You know, but it's not, you know, and so it's like because it wasn't as extreme, then it was acceptable. And I don't know anything really about your situation and what you went through. So for me, this is really going to be the first time that I'm hearing anything. So I'm actually really excited to learn about you. Because, you know, we're all here because we're domestic violence survivors, but every story is different. And the fact that you've come out of it and you've come out on top, you're going to school, you know, you seemingly have your life together, like, you know, in the, you know, like, I mean, for all intents and purposes, you know, like, it seems like you're doing very well.
She's
And
thriving,
so,
you're independent.
yeah.
We are sitting in her home that she owns, okay? Can't we
Yeah.
toot, you know what I'm saying? Like, look at this
For real.
delicious cow, you know?
killing the
Yeah.
game, genuinely. And so
Thank you.
I'm really interested and intrigued to learn about the series of events that have led you to where you are today.
Yeah.
So,
You know, I think I would not have ever, when you hear domestic violence survivor, I would never think of myself. I would have never thought of myself.
yeah.
And when I was asked to come on, you know, and speak about my experiences, I had a lot of self-reflection, and it was really an emotional journey that I've kind of been on. I've been in therapy for 1.5 years consistently. And
give you a hand clap for that.
thanks. It's expensive.
Yeah.
That's another topic for another time. And it was directly because of my marriage that I'm no longer in, praise Jesus. And I needed to work through some things, you know, because I don't think that I fully understood how the physical and verbal and psychological abuse really like affected who I am currently, like sitting here right now, you know, how I view relationships, how I'm able to enter into a new relationship, you know. And so it's been really interesting to think about the fact that, wow, yeah, girl, you, not just one domestic violence situation, but multiple. And then also having a self-reflection moment of like, how did you get here?
Yeah.
I can say that, you know, thankfully that's not a pattern in my family. You know, there's chaos, of course, you know, I mean, my childhood was pretty chaotic. great parents. They were not meant to be together. You know, I have a joke and I just say like, your sole purpose was to make our siblings and then not be together.
I feel that way about my parents.
Yeah. Like, you guys are great friends and not good partners. And so, you know, in reflection, I think back to, I suppose it had to be like 11 years ago. I've only ever had 3 relationships in my entire life. One very serious one, which is obviously my ex-husband. And then the other 2, it's kind of like, well, I was in high school, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't go on dates. One of them never even met my parents, you know.
It's like a week and you're my girlfriend now?
Yeah, like,
So you my girl,
check
you know
yes or no, you know what I mean? Like, you want to meet me at the lockers,
Right.
you know, that kind of thing. Like, you know, so it's
We
really
go together.
Yes. It's
be my
really
babe?
interesting that my only actual romantic relationships have been violent. Like emotionally violent, physically violent, you know, and I experienced that for the first time when I was like 16 or 17 years old. I was at a friend's house and me and this dude, we weren't really together. We're together, not really together, you know, like talking, not talking sort of thing. And then this particular evening, he's like calling me, but I'm ignoring him because, you know, we're not together. I'm not talking to you, you know, whatever. Like, nah,
Yeah.
you're not.
Yeah.
I'm mad at you.
Right. Yeah.
Excuse me. And so I decided to not answer the phone. And he left me a voicemail and he was hysterically crying. Stasha, I need you. Please answer the phone. I mean, I'd never heard him like that in my life. And it was scary to me because I was like, oh my gosh, you're in danger. Like, what's going on, you know? And so I call him back and he's still crying. And, you know, so I tell him where I'm at, you know, like, okay, come to me. And this is so psychotic. So he gets to the apartment complex that I'm at. Ooh, I'm like shaking. And when I see him, he's completely fine. And I felt immediately betrayed by that because I was like, how dare you, like, call me and act like that? Like, this is not the person who's just on my voicemail. You know what I mean?
And worry.
And so I was like, I'm not speaking to you. Like, I don't want to speak to you. That's the whole reason why I didn't answer your phone call, you know? And he picked me up and he threw me over his shoulder and he started walking towards his car. And I'm like, put me down, you know? And literally like asking, like, please put me down, you know? So he puts me onto the back of his trunk and he pulls out a gun. And I was like, fuck, this has escalated quickly, you know?
Yeah.
And he was just so erratic in his behavior. Like, hindsight being 2020, I fully believe he was on drugs at the time. And it was angry and, you know, I love you and I just want to be with you forever and I just want to keep you in a box. And then it was crying on my legs, but he has a gun this whole time, you know? So I'm just like, it was really like a movie because I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh my gosh, like, how do I escape this without like dying?
Wow.
And so I offered him my credit cards. I offered him my phone. I was like, you can have whatever you want. Like, I just want to go back up there with my friends. And then at this point, I'm obviously crying because I'm trying to negotiate with this person. Like, can I please go, you know? So then he wants me to get in the trunk of his car. And I was like, I'm not getting in the trunk of your car, you know? He said, well, then you need to get in the front seat. You're coming with me. You're going to come with me. And so it was just like this constant back and forth that I'm crying and I'm pleading with this man to please just let me go. And I swear to God, I don't know what it was for my friends, but they obviously knew something was very wrong. Like, I had been missing from the little event that, you know, we were at, I guess if you want to even call it a party. And my friend was driving in her car around the corner and her lights were coming. And she gets out of the car and she's like, hey, what's going on? Because she knew the guy too. And he's looking at her, can you please just go? We're talking right now. Can you please just go? And I'm looking at her like this. Like, I'm just trying to give her the eyeballs, like, bitch.
Yes.
Get me out of here, you know?
Yeah.
And so she goes back into the car and I just take off running. to her car, and I literally threw myself into her car, and like a movie, like seriously like a movie. And we leave the apartment complex. So I'm hysterically like crying in the car because it was like, wow,
At 16.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
It is insane, really.
I was gonna ask you how old you were.
Like 16, 17 years old, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he ends up getting in his car and chasing us down the road, and he passes us, and I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, like go about your merry way, you know what I mean? Well, he does a U-turn in the street and starts playing chicken with us. So now his car is oncoming to our vehicle. And I was just like, and then at the very last minute, he goes into the other side of the lane. And, that was like a really traumatic experience.
Yeah.
I don't really think, like, after that, obviously, like, us girls, my friends who were there at the time, we talked about it, but it's not like I went to my parents and was like, yeah, I just want to let you know, this just happened, because really I wasn't supposed to be seeing this person. I wasn't supposed to, I shouldn't have been seeing this person. And so that was really my first experience with something like that, and then the last scenario with this particular person was when I was 17 or 18. And I went and picked him up for some reason. I don't even know why. Always in a situation where it's like, why are you putting yourself in this situation,
Yeah.
Why are you doing this to yourself, And so I am in the vehicle with him, and things are seemingly fine. Like, we're just chatting, we're just talking, like, in the car. And then something switched. And I wish so badly that I could remember what exactly it was that, like, set him off, and it probably wasn't anything at all, like, just to be honest.
Yeah.
And he asked for my phone, and I was like, no, you don't need my phone,
Yeah.
And he choked me in my car. And so then I'm like sitting in the front seat of my car, and he's literally choking me, and he takes my keys out of the ignition, and he's like, get the fuck out of the car. And I'm just like, why are we fucking doing this again? You know what I mean? Like, and now you have my car keys. And like, I need my car keys because I need to get home, And so I do end up getting out of the car, and we end up walking into the backyard of this house. And he's literally sitting on top of me. And he's just like kissing me on my face. Like, it was just such a fucking gross moment, because it was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, we're not, what is this,
Like, one, you just finished choking me.
Yeah. And like, I'm not, like, I'm crying.
Yeah. Like,
I'm crying.
Yeah.
Get off of me.
Yeah.
And so I'm begging him, like, I don't know what you think is happening right now. Like, this is not sexy time. Get off of me.
Yeah.
So he does end up getting off of me, and he gives me my keys, and he's like, you need to take me to my friend's house. And I'm like, fine, let's go. Like, I'm trying to get out of here. Let's go,
Yeah.
So
I'll take you wherever you want to go right
yes,
now.
literally.
Just leave me alone.
And it was just so crazy. We're in the car, and we're passing this church, and there's not a single light on, not in the parking lot. I mean, it's completely pitch dark. And he was like, pull into this church. And so I pulled into the church, and he was like, okay, go behind the building. And all of my spidey senses were like, this man's gonna kill you if you go back there. Like, that's not safe. That's not safe.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I need you to get out of my car. And we like go back and forth about it. And he finally, okay, fuck you, bitch, gets out of the car, slams the door. I went home that evening, and I just sat in my car, and I genuinely just cried to myself, because I was like, I think he was really gonna hurt me if I would have. I mean, like, you've already been hurting me, but I like, maybe the last time not like anybody would have.
If you would have went back there, like, there's a good possibility that you wouldn't be sitting here talking to us today.
And I truly believe that. And then I was having this moment and this thought process to myself, like, nobody would have even known. Nobody knew where I was, what I was doing. You know what I mean? And then I just walked into my parents' house and he was like, "Hey, how's your day?" And I'm like, "Great. It's a great day.
Yeah, nothing crazy happened.
Yeah, everything's great."
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing to note for me because that's really what I've just kind of always done. And the brain is really incredible because the disassociation from traumatic experiences and the way that your brain wants to protect yourself is so amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
I've unlocked some pretty painful memories in my relationships in preparation for this. And I will say I'm thankful for them because I think that you need to process those feelings, process those emotions, you know. But I have truly disassociated from very large portions of my life from probably the age of like 16 until 25.
And that's what CPTSD does. Complex post-traumatic stress. Many victims that have experienced, you know, lifelong traumatic events, especially at an early age, they can't tell you a complete story of their life. It's very fragmented. So you tell the bits and pieces and fragments, and majority of it is the traumatic times and not happy childhood memories or whatever, because the brain has been so conditioned to only remember that, because then you're disassociating while that's happening, you know. So it's very rare that survivors can fully just tell an entire story of their life without being fragmented, you know, and that's what complex trauma does to the brain.
And then even that, it's like, even whenever you do remember the trauma, sometimes it's hard to remember exactly what happened.
Sure.
Because like you were saying, like your brain is literally trying to protect you from remembering those things. And in studies and research that I've done, like that is literally one of the leading causes of dementia.
Interesting.
Because your episodic memory is blocked because you don't remember these things. And so then whenever you experience dementia, it's like the Benjamin Button. You're going backwards in age.
Oh, interesting.
That's why a lot of times, you know, the elderly people, you'll see them carrying around baby dolls because in their brain they're infants, because they have literally digressed. Their brain has digressed. But whenever they are remembering things, they're remembering a lot of their, like the episodic memory that their brain has turned off. It's coming to life again, and their brain is like, remember. And so then it's like as if even whenever they're awake, they're reliving in those moments. And so it's very good to be able to, like you were saying, to remember and to process these things now, because in the end and in the long run, it's going to be better for your health. Like I had a patient, I worked at a skilled living center, and I had a patient going through dementia, and she was from Germany and was alive during World War II.
Wow.
And the time in her dementia, she was in World War II, and you couldn't tell her any different. She would scream, she has to find her brother, she has to find her brother. This was during COVID, whenever we would have to dress up in PPEs, like from head to toe to go into a room, and she would freak out because she thought that we were going to like take her, you know, because that was such a traumatic experience. And her husband would come see her every day at 4:00 and would read a book to her in German, and that would be the only time that we would actually really be able to get her to be calm. And he was like, whenever she's in her right mind, she can't tell you anything. She doesn't remember it. But really she does, because whenever she's going through her episodes, she is living that.
Right.
And
it's
you
in
can't.
her subconscious.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's all coming out. And so it's like, so the fact that you're literally able to remember and unlock these things, like it's very healthy.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it's I'm not, you know, I ain't gonna sit here and hold you. It's a little painful.
It is,
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely been, you know, I have tried after that relationship. My stepmom is a drug and alcohol counselor, and I'm so appreciative of her in my life because she's obviously an advocate for therapy. That's what she does for a living. And so she hooked me up with a therapist that does rapid eye movement therapy because I was experiencing such high anxiety. Like every time my phone would go off, whether it be vibration, ring, my heart rate would just skyrocket because it was associated with that relationship.
Yeah.
I was having panic attacks at school. I was still in high school. And I would have to leave. I just have to leave. I'd have to leave, and I had to go. Like, I couldn't sit there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, that was the very first time I had put myself on anxiety medication because I was 18. I could. At the time, my mom, God bless her, she wasn't really an advocate for anxiety medication. I think that my parents now are very worded up, if you will, on like mental health and understanding what that looks like, and I'm really, really thankful for that. But at the time, it was like, you don't need anxiety medication. What are you anxious about? You got a roof over your head, baby. You got eyes on. Your lights can come on. You got food in the house. You don't want for nothing. And it's like, I have always had anxiety. From literally since I can recall, like even little. And so I went and put myself on anxiety medication, and it was extremely helpful, you know what I mean? But I started to do that rapid eye movement therapy to try to help process those memories, and I'm not going to say it wasn't helpful. I don't know that I really stuck with it long enough for it to be helpful, but I can say that in my journey now, I definitely feel like the therapy that I'm going through is extremely helpful. And I did that from the age of like 18 until I was probably like 19 years old.
Yeah.
Which is also very interesting because then we transition to my ex-husband.
So how did you guys, start with the beginning on this, like how did you guys meet? Did you have any like red flags, or did you not even really know that red flags were a thing, or, like just kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, so I moved out of my parents' house right after high school. And so I was 18 in high school, which was such I was like one of my only friends that was 18. So I was like, I'm grown.
Girl, me too. I turned 18 the October of my senior year, and I had my own apartment by the time, like before I even graduated.
Yes. Yeah. I was just like, and my parents were like, why don't you just stay home? Why don't you just go to college? And I was like, nah, I'm leaving. Yeah. I'm going to go get my own apartment. And so I was really proud of myself,
Yep.
And I was working at Twin Peaks at the time.
I love that. Love that so much.
Which is so funny. I asked my dad's permission.
That is wonderful.
I was like, Dad, would you be disappointed in your daughter if I worked at Twin Peaks? He's like, no, baby girl. He's like,
my mom told me I tried to get a job as a hostess at Hooters. The hostess don't wear the same clothes. I tried to get a job as a hostess. They wore khaki shorts and a t-shirt.
Right.
And my mom said, if you get a job there, I'm going to go in there every day and embarrass you until they fire you.
You're like, thanks, Mom.
Thanks. Like, why would you do that?
My dad was really cool with it. I was actually shocked. I thought he was gonna be like, I would really prefer you to not.
Yeah.
And he was like totally fine with it. Him and my stepmom actually came and sat in my section, and it was really neat. But I ended up getting fired from that job.
Oh, nice.
Screw y'all.
Missed out on a great employee.
Right. Hello. Okay. Customer service is 100%. But that was really devastating to me at the time because I was making the money to pay my bills, you know what I mean? And so I ended up having to get a job at a gas station making $10.50 an hour.
So going from working at Twin Peaks and making the amount of money that you were making, you go to a gas station job making
$10.50 an hour. And if that just doesn't tell y'all about some inflation, I don't know what does. Because baby girl had her own apartment, own car insurance, paying my own phone bill with $10.50 an hour. Cannot do that anymore.
No.
And so at this job is when I came across my ex-husband for the first time. And I remember seeing him and I was like, he looks like a Superman.
Mm.
Yeah, like I was like, he just looked like a movie star. I know it's so dramatic, you know, but he just looks like
people like that in my
yeah.
life, too.
I was like, oh my gosh, like that's a handsome man.
Yeah.
But I couldn't stand his ass.
Right.
Because, you know, at the time it was like, you know, changing all these different things. Like we had different store managers and I was just like, this dude's a freaking asshole. Like I literally could not stand him.
So y'all worked together?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he was my boss.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah. Perfect.
And so, you know, as we began to work together, like obviously the professional relationship improved. You know, I was like, I got with the program. I'm like, fine, you want us to clean every 5 seconds? We'll clean every 5 seconds, you know. And I ended up having like a dream about this dude. And just to be quite honest, I was never interested in dating him. I was just physically attracted to him. I was just like, you are a physically attractive man. That's all I was thinking, okay? It didn't really go much further than that, you know?
Yes. Yep.
And so I was talking to a coworker about it, you know, just like, that is so weird. I had this dream. You know, I was like telling my coworker about it. We were like pretty close. Well, the coworker ends up telling him about the dream that I had.
Oh.
So I'm in the back room. Oh my God, I'll never forget this day. And he's in the back room and I turn around and he's like, right, like just this close.
Yeah.
And he looks me dead in my face and he said, I heard you had a dream about me.
Did your heart drop?
I was shitting myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's the Pampers?
I was like, oh my God. Like, and his eyes are blue. I mean, and to this day, I've never seen his eyes that blue ever again. And I was like, yes, I did. Anyways, bye. I gotta go back up to the register. And so like I just like left, you know. And so I want to say that there was definitely flirtation after that, like two active participants in the flirtation. Like I'm being flirty, you're being flirty, and then it seemed like it turned into reasons to call each other, right? So like after I worked 2:30 to 10:30, so like he'd call me like, hey, how did the drawers come out? First of all, I'm not even a manager. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what I say. Or I was like, hey, we got all this waste. What do you want to do with it? I'm not dumb. I know what I'm supposed to do with it, right? Throw it away.
Right.
And it kind of turned into that.
Excuse.
Oh yeah, 100%. You know. And so as we start talking like that, then it turned into he would show up at the store during my shift in like regular clothes. And I was like, oh my God, it's Superman. Like, look at this man, you know? And I knew that it was intentional. You know what I mean? Like, I knew it was intentional. So we end up, I'm 18. So I'm 18. I'm still 18 years old. I'm still 18 at this time. He's 8 years older than I am.
Wow.
And so we end up actually chatting. And as we are talking, and it is truly becoming like a personal conversation, he tells me that he's separated. That's red flag number 1, folks.
Yep. Been there, done that.
Yay.
Yep.
You're not separated
Yep.
and trying to be in a relationship. Go ahead and finish up that divorce, baby.
Right. Yeah. And then we can maybe
And
talk.
then we can chat, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm 18, you know what I mean? I'm thinking that this is like an appropriate thing, you know. I mean, if I'm gonna just be honest, like my
because they're
parents,
not together.
You're
They're
not together.
separated.
Yeah.
You gotta believe everything that they say,
Right.
Because I mean it's coming from the source, you know, right?
Right. Well, I'm just like, that makes sense. Yeah, like you guys aren't together, you're separated, you're going through your divorce, and
He's
you
being
know,
so honest,
yeah,
so forthcoming.
yes, I was
so
just like,
honest.
man, I'm sorry to hear that, you know, like, and I mean, and also I would say like my parents were married and divorced twice, you know, and I do really commend them for trying. I mean, they really did try.
Right.
Not meant to be together.
Right.
Very chaotic, very destructive behavior, like just not meant to be together.
Yeah.
And so to me, when I was a kid, the second time they got divorced, I was thrilled.
Right.
I was so happy because I was like, you guys cannot be together.
Right.
And you know, divorces can take time. Like my parents truly lived in separate houses and they had partners. And so to me, that made sense to me, you know? So when he told me that, I didn't find that to be odd. You know what I mean? At the time, like I didn't find that to be a weird thing for me to engage in with him because you were still legally married, but you told me you're separated, right? And so he's telling me that he lives in an apartment, he's got 2 kids, and you know, we're just like talking, and our relationship for the first 3 months was solely on the phone. Like we just talked on the phone, you know, and then when we went to work, it was very professional. You know what I'm saying? Probably a little loud, probably a little louder than we thought it was. But I think we thought we were pretty down low about it, you know what I mean? And so I remember it was August. I was in Florida with my family on vacation, and me and this dude were just on the phone. Like my family was getting irritated with me, like, get off the phone. We're on family vacation. So I come back from vacation in August, and we had decided that we were going to see each other for the first time, like outside of work, and like really see each other, you know? So he comes over to, and I had a roommate at this time. I had moved from my apartment and moved in with one of the girls I used to work with at Twin Peaks. Don't ever have a roommate, by the way. Like, that's hard. She was a wonderful lady, and I'm thankful for her, but.
Sorry if you hear noise. I guess there's like construction going on next door, so.
Didn't know that was happening.
Yes,
sorry.
did it.
Or the whining dog.
It's not me having gas,
okay.
I swear.
Are you sure?
And so he comes over to the house that I'm living in at the time, and we just sat in the backyard and just talked, you know? And we totally just talked, and like wasn't that big of a deal, and puppy boy, stop it. And so that was our first time seeing each other outside of work. I don't even know that we kissed that day. Like seriously, you know? And you know, you also have to think this is the first like real boyfriend I've ever had. You know what I mean? Like I'm in like uncharted territory. You know, like you can come over to my house.
Well, plus he's so much older than you too.
Yes.
Like,
he was mature.
He was mature.
Oh yes.
And,
yes.
You know, had his shit together, and
then,
he's experienced. He's been married, and.
But you know, at this point, you said y'all hadn't even kissed or anything. So then I'm sure it's like, oh wow, like he's so respectful.
Well, and I was also that, and then I was scared. I was like, I'm like, it was just scary. It was scary to me, and I wanted things to be slow. And one of the things that we had talked about once we started getting serious was that I did not want to meet his children.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, it's very important to me that if I meet your children, it is because like we're gonna get married.
Yeah.
Or like we're really in it for real, because that's going to be a traumatic event for them if we get together and then we like don't work out in the next 6 months, you know?
Right.
And so I turned 19 years old. He takes me to the mall on my birthday. I know, girl, I was shopping. I'm buying things. He's paying for it. I was like, oh my God, a man.
Right?
I was like, honey, okay, we're shopping. I did not believe that. Okay, that's like what dreams are made of. You know what I'm saying? And it was like really fun. But then it was also like, oh my gosh, I hope we don't see anybody that we know, because he's still my boss at this time.
Oh.
And so once things moved quickly. And you want to know what's so interesting? Here I am thinking that things are not moving as quick as they are, but they were moving very quickly. Very quickly.
Yeah.
So this is my 19th birthday, and it's like, let's move in together. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, like that's really crazy. And I'm like, yeah, we should move in together, you know? And so we're looking at apartments. I'm very aware that he's got children, so I want to make sure like we have a space for them. And you know, this whole time I'm under the impression of like they're separated, right? She's aware that, I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no, there's not going to be any drama, right?
Right.
So I approached him and I said, you know, I'd really like to meet your ex-wife. because I just want to, I'm going to be around her kids. I want to make sure she knows that it is never my intention to try to be their mom.
Right.
I just want to be a teammate. I just want to be another person that cares about them. Like, I want to be an ally to you,
Yeah.
So we move into our apartment. Oh, let me also back it up a bit. So we're talking about finances.
Mm-hmm.
So we find this luxury apartment. This is a luxury man, okay? This man is fancy. Way fancier than me, okay?
Yeah.
And I think the rent was like $19.50.
Damn.
Mind you, I'm making $10.50 an hour, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you think that we could afford that? Can you afford that?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, totally. We fill out the applications, we get approved, we start moving our stuff in there, So then he's supposed to be communicating with his ex-wife so that we can meet, because I wanted it to be a cordial situation, and shit hits the fan. That is the beginning of the end, I think, for me and my ex-husband. One of the reasons, for sure. Other than the fact that he's fucking crazy. His ex-wife was like, hell no, I'm not meeting her. I don't want shit to do with her. Said some ugly things, and so then basically that weekend we got the kids. And it was very unexpected. Like, I was so not prepared for children to be in the home. You know what I mean?
Right.
I can't even remember what their rooms looked like, honest
What was
to God.
the reasoning for that? Like, did she?
I really don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know. Like, I was kind of in the mindset that she was open to that, and then all of a sudden it was like, no. Now, hindsight being 20/20, during that time, I had brought my ex-husband over to my family's house to watch an OU game. That was like his first time to meet the family, and I have a picture of that. Such a funny time. Pictures are really funny.
Yeah.
Pictures are funny.
Aren't pictures so funny?
They're
Yeah.
so
Especially
silly.
when you go back with a different awareness and you're able to see things.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that very day that he comes over to my parents' house, he is texting her, like, cordially. Hey, how do you think my outfit looks? Getting her opinion about how he looks. And he tells her that he is going to watch the OU game with his new church friends. But really, he's coming to your girlfriend's house to meet her family. So if you put that into perspective, like, you gotta have grace for this woman, right? Like, it's like, here we are having a conversation about how do I look, and then now all of a sudden you're like, do you want to meet my girlfriend at Starbucks? What?
Yeah.
And I honestly, if I had to be honest, I bet a lot of that happened. I think probably more than I even am aware of. That's just one particular instance that I know happened for sure.
Well, that's what triangulation is. It's telling the other person different things, and then while you have the new supply that you're also telling different things. So to you, he was making it seem like everything is great. You guys are going to meet each other, but then he's feeding her different information, you know what I mean, to get you guys to create a drama triangle.
Oh, yeah, it's drama, baby. Excuse me. We're like bears. Sorry. So we abruptly get the kids, and I just remember it was like 10 o'clock at night. We're in Target. I'm trying to get toothpaste, toothbrushes. I've got these two kids that this is my first time meeting them. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Let's go to Target to get you.
Yeah, let's go to Target, and hi, you're gonna sleep here now. Not what I wanted. You know what I mean?
Did you guys get them full time, or was it just for the weekend visit?
It was just for the weekend visit.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure that my brain is.
Yes.
That's just like, I don't mean to interject, but like, you saying that out loud literally just brought up my own situation, and it's verbatim the same thing, and I haven't thought about that since then. Like, verbatim the same thing. That weekend we got the kids, and it just was out of nowhere. Like, that was my first time meeting them.
Yeah, like you're gonna spend the night with a stranger?
Yes, but on a weekday, on a school night, and they showed up with no extra clothes, no anything, just their backpacks. And I remember like not knowing what to do the next day because they're not going to wear dirty clothes to school. We didn't have anything for them. Like literally.
We had nothing. I don't even know that we had beds. That's why I'm really trying to
We
think.
lived
Like,
in a 1-bedroom apartment.
I don't remember. We did eventually quickly got beds.
Yeah.
But I don't even remember how that sleeping arrangement went. I'm not even sure. You know? And so that was like my first real interaction, you know? And excuse me. Maybe a couple weeks, the divorce filed from the ex-wife.
Okay.
That was shocking to me because I thought that was already in motion, right?
God damn. Yeah.
I already thought it was in motion, but then it's like, surprise, here's your divorce papers, and like you've got court, right? And I want to be very like, so the ex-wife and I, we're cool now, baby.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's like, you know, but at that, you know, obviously we're not cool at this time. So we get served with these divorce papers, and I'm like reading through the petition, and it's nuts. Allegations. Okay. She's petitioning for full custody. She wants me to not have any contact with her children. Like, it was like all this crazy stuff, and I was like, oh my God. Okay. So we go to court, and it was ruled that I was not allowed to be around the children. Like, I was not allowed to be around them. I could not sleep there. I could not spend the night. Like, if they were there, I literally was not allowed to have contact with them during, like, their proceedings, you know? And so I just moved in to an apartment with my boyfriend. Where am I supposed to go? So I shit you not, I was locked in the room. He would have to bring food into the room, like sneak it into the room so that I could like have dinner. Like before the no contact thing really happened, just the no overnight thing was happening. So let me backtrack for a second. I couldn't spend the night. I was not allowed to be there overnight. So I had to pretend to leave the apartment, tell the kids bye. I'd walk out of the apartment, close the door, and he would go like be in the room with them and like watch TV or whatever. And I had to sneak back into my own apartment and go lock myself in my bedroom. And then it just became like no contact at all. So then it was like, they couldn't even know I was there. So I spent a lot of time at my mom's house. And that was really like hard, you know? I mean, it was like, fuck dude, this is my house. I like have to come home at like 11:30 at night because I'm trying to wait for the kids to go to sleep. Then that kind of put a strain on me and my ex-husband's relationship because he would stay in the kids' rooms with them a lot. Like if I wasn't there, I mean, they're just hanging out, you know, right. But he would fall asleep in there. So then I would be in the room just like, I haven't really seen you all day, haven't talked to you all day.
I've been locked in the room.
I've literally been locked in the room all day.
Yeah.
And now it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you are sleeping. That sucked, you know. That was like really, really crappy. And so the court stuff was really difficult, you know. It was really ugly, and there was, you know, some intentional things to be ugly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was hard for me to understand because my parents didn't act like that, you know.
Right.
I'm thinking big, happy, co-parenting family, okay? Like that's totally what I thought was gonna go down, and it was nothing like that.
I
you know?
literally have had that mindset. Yeah, because my parents divorced whenever I was young. My mom was very mean to my dad, like abusive. Even after they divorced, my mom was still super abusive to my dad. And I mean, doing it all in the name of protecting us.
Sure.
But my dad had a crazy ex-wife that he was only married to for like 9 months, and they kidnapped us. And then she tried to kidnap me. It was a whole ordeal. So then my mom literally like beats my dad up in his front yard because they had kidnapped us and took us to Iowa, and they weren't supposed to. Okay, so then my mom like drags my dad out, like waiting for us whenever we pull up in the van. I'm like 5'4" or something like that. Like drags him out by his hair, and my mom's like tiny. You know what I'm saying? My dad is not a tiny guy. But anyways, but they're best friends. Yeah. I've only ever had one birthday party, like Christmas, Thanksgiving, like it was all always together.
Together.
Yeah. Yeah. And then whenever me and my strive for together, I genuinely could not understand why my ex-wife and my ex-husband could not get along.
Yeah, it's like, why are we fighting? Why is
Yeah.
everybody fighting?
Right.
Like, you don't want to be with me, I don't want to be with you, we got kids together, like,
Right.
let's do what's
Yeah.
best for, it was really, I genuinely also did not understand, you
Right.
know?
I mean, I did a lot of like shitty things to my ex-husband, and like, but still not understanding. Like, it's not about me and you and how we feel about each other. It's about the kids. So why
Right.
can't we all get along for the kids?
Right.
Not fully grasping the fact that I literally just like ripped his heart out of his chest and I was a complete asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like, my parents were best friends and I thought that that's normal.
Right,
But apparently I'm learning that that's not normal.
Right.
Truly not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so I get that. Yeah.
So all of this is happening, like it's just like boom, 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 like very, very moving in quickly. Then all of this court drama, and then now, you know, we had Christmas at the apartment, and you know, I'm helping go Christmas shopping for the kids stuff, and I couldn't even be there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I could not be there to watch them open the things that, like, I was like, oh my
You
gosh.
couldn't have a relationship.
No,
with them.
absolutely not.
And that's devastating.
It was really crappy. And so one of me and my ex-husband's very first arguments, his birthday is the day after Christmas. And so I was always really big about like separating those things, you know, like Christmas is Christmas, birthday is your birthday. And so I planned this date, and I drew this really cute little, I'm not even artsy, but I was like trying to be artsy, you know?
Yeah.
And I drew this really cute little like picture, and it was like a rhyme, and I had got us tickets to go see A Christmas Carol, like a live action play. It was way freaking cool, dude.
Love that.
So like I'm driving, we go get dinner, like, you know, we go to this show, like everything is really great. And then we get home, and I said something about us dating. Like I referred to our relationship as dating.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize that that was like a hurtful thing to say. Like, I guess that was not as like, it's like dating in a relationship.
It's
I don't
like
know.
Lindsay.
You know what I mean? Like, I guess
Lindsay.
I did
Yeah.
not
Mhm.
realize that that was like a hurtful thing to say, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
And it was the biggest fight
Mhm.
of all time. And I'm like, but aren't we dating? Like, I'm trying to understand, you know? Like,
Yeah.
we're not married,
Mhm.
but we're boyfriend and girlfriend. We're dating. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. You
And
know
like,
what I mean?
like you're supposed to continue to date even after you're married. Like,
Our guest Lindsay literally had the exact same verbatim, and she was sitting in the car with her partner at the time, and she was like, everything was just so romantic, and so she said, I could really see this working out. Like I could see us really like going far.
she said, I
I
think
think-
I can see
I think
this.
I can see this, and
Go
that blew up. You think?
I know.
I know. And so then it turned into shame and, you know, all of that, and just blew up on her in the car.
It was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was shook.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, how did we go from having
Dating
this
is an
really
act.
nice evening,
Yeah.
and it's all fucked up because I said dating, because I referred to us
Right.
as dating. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? In that particular argument, I mean, when I tell you it was a big deal, I'm talking about like walking out the front door. Now we're arguing in the freaking parking lot of the apartment complex. Okay, I think we've been together like 6-7 months at this point. Okay, arguing in public outside. It's dark, like getting a little loud probably. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't even know how that resolved, but I just like that was one of our very first big arguments, you know, and I just thought like, okay, I'm sorry. Like I understand what you're saying. I'm sorry that hurt your feelings. Like I'm apologizing about it.
Whenever you literally did nothing wrong,
Right.
I was
that
just
you
like,
got
wow.
that you feel like you have to apologize to make it stop.
It was weird.
Yeah.
It was that was like that was like the first very weird situation that had happened. So
Another red flag.
Right.
ding.
Mhm. Yeah, trying to start arguments, you know.
And so we live in this apartment. Our lease was only 9 months.
Mhm.
And you know, mind you, there's a lot of like really big things going on. Like his divorce is happening. I also just found out like my mom and my stepdad were moving to the state of Washington for a job for my mom, and we were all super, super happy about it until it was like, oh, you're gonna be gone.
Yeah.
Like you're out of here. And like I'm really, really, really close with my family. I also was quitting smoking. I've smoked cigarettes basically since I was 14 years old, and that's sick, I know.
Girl, same.
And so I was quitting smoking, and there was a lot of things going on, just a lot of things going on. And so this has to be summertime. I wish I could remember the years. I got married in 2016. This might be 2015, 2014. And we're sitting outside. I'm smoking, I'm sure, on the patio. Like we're talking, and all of a sudden the conversation of kids come up, right? And we're talking about children and different things like that. And he tells me if we do not have kids by the time I'm 32, I'm gonna get a vasectomy. I am 20 years old at this time. I'm not even old enough to drink alcohol.
By the time he's 30.
By the time he's 32.
That's he's 8 years older than you.
If we do not have children, he will get a vasectomy. And I'm literally looking at him and I was just like, this is fucking crazy. We're not engaged. I don't have no ring on my finger.
Right.
And you are like, you're telling me if we do not have children by the time you are 32, you're going to get a vasectomy. And then, of course, in my mind, I'm like, that's really selfish. Like, you already have 2 children. And they're not my children.
Right.
Like, that's not really fair. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that was a huge argument. Like, I really feel like it was that moment that I started to think to myself, maybe this is really not a good idea. And you know what is so interesting? When I talked about disassociation earlier, in my therapy sessions, when I'm talking to my counselor now, I can tell you about my childhood home. I can tell you where everything is. I have, my memory is top level, baby.
Yeah.
You know, there are just such huge chunks of things that I do not recall in my relationship with my ex-husband. And so my mom told me that while we were still in the apartment, that I would say things. She said, you had doubts then. Like you were expressing things, and I cannot freaking remember. I'm like, really?
That's what gaslighting does.
I'm just like, I was saying things to you, like I was communicating that maybe you thought that this wasn't probably going to be okay.
Right.
And okay, so that, right, that's fine. We lived together, going to court, lived together, going to court, yay. And apparently he's like planning to like propose to me. And I had always made it very clear that I wanted my family to be a part or there or in some fashion. That was very important to me. And so, oh my God, we're talking about like proposals, something like that. And he basically blows up that he was going to propose to me before my mom left, but he wanted to go to San Antonio, and he wanted, my family is huge, okay?
Yeah.
He wanted all of my family to travel to San Antonio, Texas, so that he could propose to me. But he was pissed off because they were like, dude, we're all right here. Like, I get what you're trying to do, but like, you know, that's not really like a functional thing for us. And then I looked at him and I said, why the fuck would you tell me that? Like, why would you tell me that? You know what I mean? Like, if you, and
he's trying to blame it on your family, saying that your family ruined your proposal.
But then where it backfired is I was like, well, my grandmother has back issues, like, you know, we got to coordinate with all these different people. Where are they going to stay? Like, we're asking them to pay money for gas, pay money for lodging. Like, it's a little selfish. You know what I'm saying? And if it's really about me, then make it about me. You know? So then, of course, that gets into a huge deal because I'm not taking a side. I'm not pissed off with him.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad with you. You know, I'm mad at you now because I think that's so crazy that you would sit there and tell me, oh, well, I was going to propose to you.
Yeah, you're not
and
blaming your
there
family.
was going to be this hearts. And I mean, I'm talking about all the details, about all the, and I was like, wow, this is so romantic and great. Like, way to just fucking ruin all of that. You know what I mean?
They're good at that.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, how did we get past that? I don't really know, you know, but we just ended up like moving past that. So we do end up getting engaged. Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
It's like when you talk,
I just
it
had
just,
a memory.
Yeah.
My ex-wife and I, 2 days before she proposed to me, I caught her texting with her ex.
Oh, cool.
And I called her out on it because she had left her phone at home and that she had a notification on it. And so I seen who it was and I'm like, what is this? And then she comes back home because she realizes she had forgot her phone. And I looked at her and I was like, why, like, so-and-so just text you? Like, what are y'all, like, talking about?
Just remember the really important part of the story.
Good.
It's good.
Hold it. Yeah. And she literally looked at me and she said, I was going to propose to you on Sunday, but now I can't trust you.
Oh,
Because,
deflection.
because you went through my phone. Why are you going through my phone? I should be able to have privacy. I was going to propose to you
And you're
on
the ones that's always
Sunday.
talking about boundaries.
Yep.
But now you went through my phone and
I had
called
this
me.
planned.
with you texting your ex.
It's
Right.
action.
And then I'm like, I'm so sorry I went through your phone. I'll never do it again.
That's nuts.
Yeah, anyways, okay.
So to rewind before we got engaged, this is the last few months that we're living in this apartment, and I'm like working. I'm trying to get on my workout grind.
Yeah.
You know, like I ain't got that high school
Killing it,
body
killing it,
anymore.
you know?
And I get home from working out, and he's in the kitchen, and he's talking on the phone. And my mom always told me like it was really important that like when you come home from work, or if your partner, like you guys should get off the phone, greet each other.
Be present.
Be present, you know, for your partner. And so,
No, thank
You mean going on video games right when you get home is like not okay?
not an appropriate thing to
Okay.
do.
But while at the same time you mean to tell me that I have to stop exactly what I'm doing
Uh-huh.
because you walked in the door? No, thank you.
So I like walk in the door, and you know we've not worked together for a very long time. So like
Yeah.
it was exciting to talk about like how's your day,
Yeah.
Right.
like what have you done, because for like the last however many months or so, like I knew exactly how your day was, you know.
Yeah.
And so he's talking on the phone, he's washing dishes, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, he must be talking to like his homie.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounded like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like in the living room and I'm stretching, and I was like, oh, who's that? And I was like, is that so and so? No, it was Amanda. I was like, Amanda? Like from work, Amanda? He's like, yeah. She called me about something. And I was like, but that's not what you guys were talking about, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so he's like telling me about their conversation, what they were talking about, and different things. And so I was calm. And I said, you know, I'm a woman,
Mm-hmm.
and I know how women can be, or people in general, really. It's
Right,
not even
yeah.
it's not even about gender, just
Right.
people in general.
Yeah.
I said, I do not feel that her intentions are pure.
Yeah.
I would very much appreciate if you would refrain from having like personal conversations with her, and if work things need to be discussed, discuss them during work.
Yeah. Right.
I would just appreciate that.
Yeah.
That was the end of the conversation. I was done.
Yeah.
And actually, it was well received.
Yeah.
I was shocked by that, you
Yeah.
know. So we end up, there was like a snowstorm. We're like going to IHOP or something like that. And I had to look at his phone for something. Because I've just really never been one to be like, oh, I'm going to go through your phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I noticed that him and this chick are talking about a movie that's coming out and sending pictures of food back and forth to each other, doing exactly what I asked you to not do.
Mm-hmm.
And then it really solidified to me, like, I'm not fucking crazy. I called this shit from the jump. Like,
Yeah.
this woman obviously, for some reason, feels that y'all's relationship is way friendlier than I'm comfortable with. You know what I mean? And I've already addressed this with you, and you ignored me. Like, you didn't
Yeah.
care, you know?
Yeah.
So that turned into a huge fight. And of course, I'm crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm the
You
crazy
don't
one.
trust me.
Like,
Yeah.
she's just my coworker. We have to talk
Yeah.
about fucking dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Like, no pictures of chicken nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
What in the hell does it have to do with your job?
Yeah.
Like nothing, you know? Would you believe I engaged to this man? I sure did. I said yes.
Yeah, you did.
I said yes.
The Lord said.
Yep.
And at the time we were living at my dad's house because we had moved out of the apartment because we couldn't afford it.
What month was this? How many months in now are you in the relationship?
Well, their
So this
apartment
is-
was a 9-month lease.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that we are now together officially for a year.
Okay.
Okay.
So that we got engaged in October.
Okay.
Actually, October 10th.
Okay.
This is so funny.
Yeah.
So we get engaged in October of 2015. Oh my God, so all that was in 2014. That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's really important for me. That makes me.
Yeah.
Talking man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we get engaged in October of 2015 and all my family's there. Everybody's there. Like, it was a really lovely time. Like, it was super cute how it was done. Oh man, it was real cute.
Yeah.
And we're living at my dad's house at this time because we're trying to get our finances together. The divorce is like killing us. I mean, the attorney's fees are off the fucking chain, dude.
Yeah.
And it was just nuts. Like we just had to get on top of things. And so, just a little bit of like a warning to any personal person that's gonna watch this, like, gonna get a little personal. While we were living at my dad's house, obviously we are not engaging in intercourse because I'm actually not quite comfortable doing that.
Right.
You know,
Dad's house.
at my parents' house.
Yeah.
You know, just wasn't really feeling like getting jiggy with it. You know, at my dad and stepmom's house. You know,
Understandable.
and so, oh my gosh, this is like really gross to me. It just like really stresses me out, kind of. But it's fine. I want to talk about it because I think it's
You're
important.
doing great.
So we would fight about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we haven't had sex. It's been months.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm not trying to do that, but can you please try to understand like the position I'm in? Like, there's never a time that we're there when like nobody else is there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it is kind of just like a respect thing for me. I don't know. And in my mind also, I'm like, this is temporary. Like, this is temporary. Like,
Yeah.
I'm also really fucking stressed out
Yeah.
because we've got all these attorney fees coming in. We are living at my dad's house. We have your 2 children coming here.
Now I do want to backtrack. Didn't you mention to me, weren't you basically paying for the attorney fees during that time as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my attorney.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And so there was a lot of stress going on. Like, sexy time was the last thing on my list. And I think it's really important for like people to understand that as women, we are very, stress can immediately, like, it's like, no, you know, like if you
Dry
walk
as
into
the desert.
just drier than the
Yeah.
Sahara, baby.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, you walk into the home and it's like, you know, you have laundry. There's the sink is full of fucking dishes. You got to feed the kids. You got to do this, and then you want me to do all of that, and then it's sexy time after.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, there's a book called Sex Starts in the Kitchen, and it basically just talks about how like our brains are not. You could touch a man. This is scientific. This is not being sexist, and he will be ready to go.
Yeah.
It is so much more mental for women.
Yeah.
It just is, you know.
Right.
And we,
There's other forms of intimacy aside from having
Sex.
intercourse. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? Conversation, sharing a playlist. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Like safe touch.
right.
like,
Just being affectionate.
Yeah.
without
Just
wanting
hold
to-
me. I've had a
Yes.
hard day.
wanting
Yes.
to bend me over backwards and smack
Yeah.
that ass. You know? And
A
I'm like,
massage
my
that
back hurt.
does not involve taking my pants off.
No.
so it was just such a huge deal. Like, that was so difficult. It was a difficult conversation that was had many times while we were living with my parents. And so we end up moving out of my parents' house. Thank God. Because also, I'm sure as you know, like when you have your entire family unit at like a stranger's house or your friend's house or your parents' house, it's not your space.
Right.
So I'm so hyper vigilant about like, please don't jump on the couch like that.
Yeah.
Okay, like, oh, please pick up your stuff. You know, like, oh, we gotta make sure because it's not my home. You know what I
Right.
mean? And it's really not their space either. And it, but
Right.
then it was complicated.
Yeah.
Complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we end up getting our own rent house, and you know, we're gonna go like to wedding dress expos. We're trying to plan the wedding, you know, all of these things. Okay, all these things that should be like really fun and like, you know, great. I guess I really like chaos in my life. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, but
Trauma.
yeah. We go down to Texas shortly after we moved into our house because my mom was doing something down there, and she's like, I'll get you guys a hotel room, like it could be fun, you know, all these different things. Supposed to be fun. But then who are we talking to again? Amanda. And I'm just like, this is unfucking believable. This is unbelievable to me, right? So we're fighting about this in Texas, but I'm trying to keep it on the fucking deal because like my mom's here, and you know, I just always felt like I didn't want everyone to be in our business because no one's gonna love your partner as much as you do.
Right.
So I just didn't want to put it all out there, you know.
Right.
So we're like low key arguing. We're like low key back and forth, and it's like, hi. Oh, are we gonna go to the boardwalk now? Okay, great. Yeah, let's go. You know, whole time I'm like, I want to like
while
throw
just
your shit over the
yeah.
like. You're serious right now. Like you're serious right now.
So the conversations were escalating. Into,
Oh my! They were continuing. Like they never even stopped.
Yeah.
So we get back from Texas, and I have this cute little thought to myself. I'm gonna check the phone records.
Oh. Yeah.
You know, 127 pages I printed.
Wow.
Sorry to my previous employer. So your supplies.
15 cents a paper.
127 pages of incoming and outgoing phone calls and text messages received and sent. I highlighted every fucking one of them
Wow.
on every single page.
Wow.
I'm like shaking as I'm talking about it. And I went to my boss and I said, I have to leave. I have to go.
Yeah.
I was about to throw up all over the place because I just couldn't. And I mean, we're talking about months of phone records, okay?
Wow.
And this was after y'all were engaged at this point.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, oh my God. So I thought to myself, I said, you know what? Maybe these conversations really are not inappropriate. Maybe they're really not.
Yeah, you're gaslighting yourself. Yeah.
And so my plan was to go home from work and I was going to compare the data.
Yeah.
Okay, like, oh, you got a text message on this date at this time. Let's see what you guys are talking about. I noticed you received a picture message this day. Let's just see what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not that big of a deal. So I get home and he often napped because he would wake up super, super early and he just like literally could not function if he didn't have a nap. Poor baby, my God, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, poor thing. And so, mind you, also at this time, I'm working 2 jobs. Like I work at a clinic and then I'm also working at a retail store.
Okay.
So I get up and I have to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. I get off at 4:30. I go straight to my second job. There's no time in between. And then I don't get home until like 11 o'clock. That's
So killing it. Yeah.
that's what we were doing, you
Yeah.
know, because again, we were having like money issues. That just seemed to be consistent, you know.
Yeah.
So I get home and he's laying there and he's taking a nap and I just grab his phone and he's like, what are you doing? I was like, nothing, everything's fine. And I just go into the living room and I sit down and I've got all of my cute little papers laid out. And would you know it, I open the phone and every single thing is gone. There is no record of texting. There is no record of incoming and outgoing calls that just happened that day. It's just gone.
Just gone.
Just totally, totally gone.
Crazy. If there's nothing to hide, why is it being deleted?
And so I had enough. I literally took my wedding ring off and I threw it down the hall. I went and packed a bag And of course, it's like, what's going on? And I was like, you see this?
This is proof. You can't deny
All
it.
of these things here, like this, you're a liar. You lie.
You should have put them all in frames.
Like, you're calling this chick on your way to work? What?
Mm-hmm.
And I left and I went and stayed with my best friend for 3 days because I was just like,
Yeah.
what am I doing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I would also like to note that in between, you know, this stuff with this chick, I mean, he would have inappropriate conversations with his employees.
Mm.
There was multiple women, multiple inappropriate conversations. Like, you know, coworkers feeling comfortable enough to talk about their private parts with their boss. I mean, I don't know about
Was
you.
he still managing the gas station? Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I don't mean to sound like a child, but it's like looking at the phone, it's like kissy face to your fucking boss.
Mm.
I don't think so, baby.
Were most of those employees young as well?
Mhm.
Yeah.
They were all about my age. And so he really is the very prime example of a person who, like, you know, you just gotta make my head feel this big, you know what I'm saying? Like, all these little girlies think
Well, he
you're
was
so
grooming.
cute. And
Yeah.
it's
He
like,
was grooming them as well.
you know, it's like, it was just, so all of that's happening while all of this, like, all simultaneous conversations that have been had over, like, a course of a few months, you know? And I just remember staying at my best friend's house and I'm literally crying because I'm just like, I'm trying to conceptualize, like, being with another person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm thinking about all things, like, oh my gosh, like, I have shared my body with this person, and if we're not together, that means that, you know, I'm like big picture, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I'm jumping neons ahead of what the healing process looks like, right? But at that time, I'm just like, how could I even share
All
that
your
space,
vulnerabilities.
like, my
Yeah.
vulnerability with another person? Like, it just was terrifying to me. And so I stayed at my friend's house all weekend. And then I came back home and, you know, again, how did that resolve? I don't remember.
Mm.
I'm sure we did talk about it. Like, obviously we had to have talked about it at some point. But I just don't remember. And things just truly never really got any better. Like, it would be that kind of situation. We get into an argument again about what? Sex.
Well, and I think to know, like, love bombing, like, that's a part of, I think, the psychological abuse that ends up making women forget about the negative experiences or the gaslighting, because that all ties in together. So if I can love bomb you and tell you everything that you want to hear,
Buy you a Michael Kors purse.
right?
Yeah.
So this is covering up for
Because
my
that's
bad
my
behavior.
that's
what
my
you-
apology.
Right. That's what
And
you
so
mean.
it's like, oh my God, he loves me so much
Mhm.
because otherwise he wouldn't have got me these things.
Yeah.
Oh, I came home and the house is clean.
Right. You mean dinner?
Yeah.
Well, because I was telling
Basically.
Latricia, like, I was working 2 jobs at this time because, like, we literally could not afford to get toilet paper.
Yeah.
Like, during that time, I was having to ask my parents very consistently for money.
Yeah.
And this man made money, okay? And I just remember, like, I'm working I'm up at 7 and I don't get home until 11. And here we are now, yet again, having this conversation about our intimacy. And I'm like, you get to take a nap every day.
Mm-hmm.
Wake up refreshed, ready to go. Like, you're selfish. But then it turned it, and this is where, to me, like, the conversations just stopped.
Mm.
So then what would happen is it would be like the weekend. I typically didn't have to work my second job on the weekend. And we'd wake up and I'd be like, good morning. You know, like, we're gonna sit on the couch and have coffee together or go outside on the porch and smoke our cigarette together. Morning. And I'm like, what's wrong? Nothing.
Withholding affection.
And I'm just like, something is obviously wrong with you.
Yeah.
Like, I literally just opened my eyeballs, okay? What's happened? Nothing. Okay. So I'm gonna go throughout the rest of my fucking day then.
Yeah.
Nothing's wrong.
Right.
But inside, I'm literally like tormented because I'm like, why won't he just tell me what the fuck is wrong? Like, what
Yeah,
did I
there's
do?
clearly
Like,
something going on.
There's a problem, okay? And sometimes this would last days. Like it would be like
Very
Saturday,
common.
and so then Sunday rolls around, same thing is going on, but we are just like existing around each other, kind of like whatever. And so we'd wake up on Sunday, what's wrong? Same thing. And then it would be like 8 o'clock at night and like, did you know that you didn't touch me one time this weekend?
Now to exhaust you mentally and
Okay.
physically.
So then also, can we talk about like, do you feel that your behavior was like inviting for me to touch you? You never do. All you just sleep, we haven't had sex and da 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 da. And, I mean, and I'm just like, so this is what's wrong. This is what's wrong. So you want to punish me with the silent treatment and create this angst and anxiety within myself. And instead of just like, let's talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Kind of like what you were saying in one of our episodes where you were like, because many narcissistic abusers are so bad with finances, so then more responsibility and obligations get put on you intentionally to create this same drama dynamic. So now it's your fault that we're not being intimate because I am neglecting our responsibilities and you
lying about
you
that.
had to get a second job. So now it's your fault that we're not being intimate,
That was like, that honestly has affected me to present day, because now when I ask people what's wrong and they tell me nothing, I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
Like I can't deal with that because it really triggers me, and it really sends me into, I've had to work really, really hard in therapy to just accept what's being told to me. It's like, even if I know you're not really being truthful to me, I have to accept that.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I will be like sick.
Because it's not your responsibility to pull that out of that
No,
person.
it's
Correct.
like, maybe you don't want to talk right now, and I have to
Correct.
just accept that.
Yeah.
I wish we had better communication. We could just say that to
Right.
one another, but I've had to work really hard.
Because like I know that I would always ask, like, if there's something wrong and you don't want to talk about it, please don't say nothing and just say, I don't want to talk about it right now. Because then at least that way I can just move on, and then I can prepare myself for a conversation later.
Yeah.
Instead of you continually telling me nothing, but I am literally being, like you said, tormented on the inside of like, but something is wrong. But they keep telling me nothing, but I don't believe that because something is wrong.
And then something was always wrong.
Right. And then by the time that, after days of having the opportunity to communicate that with you because you're asking, and it's like, I'm trying to give you the space to tell me what's going on, but you don't take it. You wait until I am so mentally exhausted, and then I have to prepare for another long work week. And you wait until, 8 o'clock at night whenever
Now we're
I want to
talking
go to
until
bed.
midnight.
Sleep
Correct.
deprivation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like,
But we could have talked about it at 11 o'clock in the morning.
It's
Yeah.
intentional. It's intentional.
the day before.
The day before, like when I asked you what was wrong,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was just, that's, I just want that to be noted, because I don't want to keep touching on it, but that was a very consistent theme throughout our entire relationship. Always physical, always about that. It was always about that. And anytime
We have nothing in common. We have no common interest if we're not having sex.
Right, like you don't even actually love me.
Yeah, but I'm gonna psychologically abuse you, and I'm gonna exhaust you mentally and physically, and then I'm gonna turn around and blame you for our lack of intimacy.
Yep.
Because they can't take responsibility or accountability for anything. It's
Right.
always to blame the other person. It has to always be someone else's fault. And if the world is not centered around me, because everyone is inferior to me, you know what I mean? Like, that's all it is.
Right,
Mhm.
right. So then, as the money issues progressed, we're trying to plan a wedding, and then I have the bright idea of let's buy a house too.
Might as well.
Do not do that.
We're doing
Right.
everything.
I don't know why I was like, let's do 2 really stressful things at one time, and then I just left for 3 days, and I'm thinking, and it's just really nuts. It's nuts. So we're thinking we're gonna buy a house, maybe 2. We're looking into all of these things, and again, the money. So the kids were supposed to come over one weekend, and we had no lunch stuff, They had to go to school. I need breakfast. I need toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we needed household items, you know? And so I looked at him, I said, I'm not asking you are supposed to be my husband, my partner. What do I look like calling my family? Can I have some money? Do you mind giving me some money? Like, it was embarrassing to me.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, we're two grown people who have jobs. Like, where is the effing money at, dude?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so finally, I made him pull up his bank account because I was like, what are you doing? And I had attempted that before, and it was like, you know, never allowed to, or, you know, oh, look over here. Oh yeah, by the way, did you like those flowers? We should get those flowers, you know?
Yeah.
And I just have reached a point where I was like, that's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like, we're not even gonna leave this space until I'm able to look. And I'm just seeing like food, huge credit card payments are coming out. Like, I mean, just large expenses.
On
And
what?
like, I guess bills.
Oh, okay.
His
Yeah.
bills. Like
his
credit card bills.
Yeah.
Okay. Like maybe pre-existing stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so he tells me, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go get money from my dad. And I'm like, yeah, you need to go get money from your dad.
Yeah.
Because I'm not asking my parents anymore.
Yeah.
So he leaves, and I'm talking about maybe 10 minutes. He's gone, and I get a phone call from his dad. And I answer, and I'm like, what's up? I'm pissed. Like we're obviously fighting, right? So I'm like, why are you calling me? You know?
Yeah.
He's like, Stesha, I really gotta talk to you about something. And I'm just like, what? You know what I mean? Like, what? He's like, so, your wedding ring, he can't afford it. I've had to make the payments. You know, it's like $397 a month. I would also like to note that this man, when we first got engaged, would walk around and say, that's a $12,000 wedding ring. That's 2 carats. Oh, the diamond's this. Da, da, da. I make $80,000. It's just so grandiose.
Yeah.
All the time, and it was embarrassing to me. Actually, we had to have a conversation about it, and I was like, that embarrasses me. Like, you don't need to tell my friends that you make $8, because baby, we're not doing well. Okay.
Literally. Yep. Yep. I make over $100,000 a year.
I'm in the top 1%.
But I'm gonna be mad about our $500 electric bill because
That I'm not gonna pay for 2
inflation.
months. Yeah, you got the red.
But I'm
notice
gonna
in the
go
mail.
spend $800 on some wooden beams that are still sitting on the ground in the backyard.
And a $400 football ticket.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
You know, so I'm listening to his dad speak to me, and he's like, you know, I tried to tell him, you know, son, why don't you just get, you know, something that you know, a little cheaper,
That you can
that you can
afford.
afford. But here's what's so funny, you guys. Anybody that knows me knows that, like, if this man would have proposed to me with a rubber band, I'd have been the real.
Right.
Yeah.
I would have lived in a cardboard box with you.
Yeah.
I'm not a
Just say that.
materialistic person.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't care for like the flashy, gaudy. It's just not my personality.
Right.
And so I was so infuriated immediately because I was like, oh my God, I'm working 2 jobs to pay for my wedding ring.
Yeah.
I was like,
I pay for my own shit.
cannot believe this right now.
Yeah.
And you would think that maybe in that particular situation, it's like, wow, his dad was really looking out for you. No, his dad's a fucking player.
Right.
Yeah.
That man was not grown enough to look me in my face and say, I have made a huge mistake. I overextended myself with your wedding ring. I'm sorry.
Right.
This is where we are. This is the situation. What can we work together? Like, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Right.
Puppy boy, please stop it.
It's okay.
He's like, I hate to hear that about you, Auntie. I know. And so they worked together to contrive that. He was like, I'm gonna leave, you call her, I won't, you know, and it was, I couldn't even believe that. I was just like, this is so absurd.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't coming from like a concerned parent who really is trying to look out for my best interest.
Right.
Please don't tell him I called you.
Whenever he.
What?
Yeah.
He's probably sitting right there.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
Right.
that isn't how insane the whole family unit's just wild, you know. And so, you know, that was like, that was a really big deal to me. And we just like the arguments, and then it turned into, like the ugly words to me, like I would have a friend over and we were going to go do something, and he'd be like, I would say something like, oh, well, let me go get like dressed, let me go put clothes on so I don't look like a bum. He's like, you always look like that. In front of my friend, he said that to me. And it would be like those types of comments. And then the isolation stuff started happening. Like, I wanted to have my sister come over, and she would come over, but he wouldn't acknowledge her. She'd sit in the living room, he'd walk right through, go straight to his bedroom, and my sister would like say hi to him. He wouldn't even look, hey. That used to hurt my feelings so bad. Or like if we had a family thing that we were going to, he'd isolate himself. So we had a very important work call.
She never apologized to me.
Don't you see how your sister's treating me? She doesn't say anything to me.
Oh God.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yes. Like always a very important work call. Always had something really important going on during like a family event. And, he had to go smoke a whole freaking pack of cigarettes, and everyone's coming, where's he at? Where's he at? Is everything okay? Is he okay?
He's on a work call.
Oh,
He works so hard.
He's on a work call, like, he's just trying to take care of some business,
Yeah.
And then of course that would in turn, I'm pissed now. So we're driving home and I'm like, what are you doing?
Talking to Amanda.
I'm like, why do you do that?
We're going to the
I have things I have to handle, like I have a store to run. And I mean, it would all the time. It was so absolutely like, and honestly, you're probably fucking right.
You know what I'm saying?
But it was always that. It was always that. So we end up finding a home. This is 2016. We get married in November of 2016. We close in November of 2016.
Wow.
And so in preparation for that, I want to say it was November.
So did you end up having like an actual wedding?
Oh, girl, a wedding.
Okay.
I had a wedding.
I've been married twice and never had a wedding.
Yeah.
There's no reason to.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that. It was
I know.
my parents, God bless them, gave me basically everything that I wanted. I mean, I got to have I got married at Cole's Garden.
Oh,
I don't know what that is.
Catered, I mean, just like every like bride's like dream,
Yeah.
I like trying on the dresses, I mean, it was like the fairy tale story of like me thinking and fully expecting like I'm gonna pay for my wedding dress, but I come out, my dad's already taking care of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He truly did not deserve to have that experience with me, but that's fine. And so we got married in October. It was probably September. We ended up moving in with my grandma because we're trying to transition into like we're about to move. We're also about to get married, and I'm still working 2 jobs at this time. And we now have transitioned to, I want you to help me clean these office buildings. I shouldn't be the only person that's working 2 jobs. I don't care that you're tired. I'm tired. You need to help me. And I would come home and it would be like, well, I can't because like, I really need to take a nap. Okay. Or I really need to go to the gym today. And I'm just like, I need you to help me pay for this wedding ring, brother. Like, if I have to work for it, you need to work for it. And I mean, he would come sometimes to like help with that situation. And
see how hard I work out for 2 hours while people are eating lunch on their lunchtime. I am sacrificing my meal to go to the gym. I don't even eat lunch. Congratulations.
Do you want a cookie? Or that might be too many calories.
I save all my macros for dinner.
I need a whole box of Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah.
I just, I was really shocked by, like, I guess I shouldn't have been shocked, but I was shocked by that response. Like, I have to nap, I need to go work out. I'm like, I don't give a shit about any of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. So there was one evening, and I am gonna read a little something that I wrote.
Sure.
I went to clean with him, and he was sending pictures of his daughter on a field trip. She went like on a field trip with her class, back and forth to a female coworker.
Mm-hmm.
I did not receive those pictures. His parents did not receive those pictures.
Are y'all married at this time?
Engaged? It's
Okay.
a month before we're getting married.
Okay.
And this is a different coworker, mind you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was unhinged.
Yeah.
I was unhinged. I was unhinged. Okay. I feel like that's inappropriate behavior. This
Yeah.
is supposed to be my bonus child.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to be a family, and you sent those pictures to your female coworker and not your about to be wife
Mm-hmm.
or her grandparents even.
Right.
Like they're so cute. You wanted to share them.
Right. So he can look like an outstanding father, and you know.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I threw his phone out the window.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Yeah.
I sure did.
Yeah.
Am I proud of that? No, but I sure did.
That's what happened. Yeah.
I sure did. And he got back into the car, and I drove to my grandma's house, and we were yelling, girl,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never done things like that. Like that was very exposed in front of
How
my
crazy
family.
you are.
Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you know. And I'm losing it, and I'm telling you, get your shit, get out of my grandma's house. Like you need to go, you need to leave. My poor grandparents
Mm-hmm.
are like trying to help separate us. Let's talk about it, you know. And I'm like, no, dude, fuck that. Like he needs to go. Like he needs to go. I don't care. He needs to go. And so he does actually end up leaving. And then I'm like infuriated. I'm like, I pay the phone bill. I'm cutting your shit off, you know. And I'm acting like malicious at this
Right.
point as well, you know, because
Yeah.
I'm so angry. I literally cannot believe this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I want to say because the kids were coming to stay with us was one of the main reasons why he ended up coming back to my grandma's house.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously you're not going to be here and your dad's not here, and I'm not going to put them in a
Right.
situation where like, where do you guys stay?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he ended up coming back, and I was the most miserable. This was one of the most miserable times I ever had, because I was like, I'm supposed to get married to this man.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was sitting in the bedroom, and I wrote this note to myself, because I was like, I can't even talk to anybody about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell anybody how I feel. I can't tell anybody about the things that have been happening, like the psychological and emotional fucking bullshit that this man has put me through. Like, this is not a good person. Like, you're not, and I'm marrying you. And I also want to say, before I wrote this, it could have been in the same month of October, but this is all around the same time. I called the venues to try to get our money back.
Oh, wow.
I told them it was after that. I was like, my fiance is actively engaging in conversations with other women. I do not want to be married to him. They were like, sorry, we can't give you your money back. I promise you right now, if they would have given our like a refund for the money that was paid, I don't know that we would have got married.
Yeah. Because you
Truly.
would have got the money back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I felt so like I owe that to my parents. Look at what they've done for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my mom told me, before we even moved in with my grandma, and I was crying, we were having another fight.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom told me, she said, you do not have to do this if you don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
And I wished that I could have just believed what she said to me. She was being genuine. She really
Yeah.
meant that.
Right.
But in my mind, I was like, you guys have done so much. We're talking thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And it's just what we're charging it to the game.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, that just can't be. That just
Yeah.
cannot be, you know.
I have to give you guys the show that you paid for, the experience.
They would
that
have
you-
honestly preferred that I not, and that's
Right.
the truth.
Right.
Yeah,
You
but
know?
in your
But your
brain,
internal struggle.
Yes.
yeah, was like, but they paid, you know, like
They've helped us
I have to-
financially.
I have to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah.
So on October 28th, 2016.
That's my birthday.
Is it?
Oh my god, I just realized when you said.
Wow. Are you a Scorpio woman?
I am.
That time is coming.
Yeah.
At 7:56 p.m. And I'm not. There's some things in here where I'm talking about people in my family, so I'm not really gonna.
That's fine.
But I said, being in a relationship you so deeply want to be out of, hoping and praying you can make it 5 years. That's how long I felt it would be okay to announce a divorce. There is a reason why this man was alone. He had ruined his relationship. I'm sure that she wasn't perfect, but I know the misery he can cause. My heart, I just wish that it would fall out of my chest. Lord knows it would be better if I just couldn't feel it all. I wish I could choke him until he wasn't able to breathe. I feel the life that's slipping out of me. My fucking joy is gone, and it's his fault. Letting him touch my lifeless body, forget passion, forget love. I cannot stand this man. I wish I didn't have to do this shit. Too many people spent so much money, and I have to fake it till I make it. How fucking pathetic. How fucking disgusting. I just need God to hold me up. I'm so far down. Just hoping and praying that maybe I was to just die. But my poor family. I never want to leave them. I can't. But this man sucks the life out of me. A man who treats me. I wish I could find a man who treats me with respect. And I hope one day I find happiness, because Lord knows I don't respect this dude. And that was a month before my wedding. I was so unwell. You know what I mean? And I could not speak to a singular person. Or if I did speak to some people, it was just, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. But, I'm getting that feedback because I'm not being honest about the things that are happening.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so, fast forward to my wedding day. I was living somebody else's life in that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I Googled my vows and pieced together really sweet and nice things that I found on Pinterest. I didn't write my vows. We were supposed to do that, and I didn't. I don't remember a large part of anything that happened after I walked down the aisle. I remember getting ready, and everyone around me, all my bridesmaids, were just so excited, and everyone's getting dressed, and I did not cry, not one time. I just kind of felt like I was just there, like I was just existing, you know what I mean? And I remember the only time that I cried was because my dad had asked to see me before, like, we walked down, and he started crying. My dad does not cry. That's number 3 in his lifetime that I've ever seen that man cry. So that's what made me cry, because I was like, oh, my daddy, And we partied, and I drove us home because he was really intoxicated. And we go home to our new house, our brand new house, and he throws up in the sink because he was intoxicated. I wasn't upset about that. I was like,
You had a great time.
you had a great time. You know what I
We
mean?
just got married, celebrating.
Yeah. And so we wake up the next morning. Good morning. Hey. What's wrong? Nothing. Okay. So some hours pass. I'm like, what is your fucking problem? We didn't even consummate our marriage last night. I said, yeah, because you threw up in the sink. Like, you don't remember throwing up in the sink, honey? You were sick. You were vomiting. And he was so angry about that.
It's your fault.
I was just like, okay. Like, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Buckle up, folks. It's getting exciting, you know? And so, I mean, like, Yeah, dude, that was the very next day after our wedding, and my depression just progressively got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And you know, I think it's really interesting because I always identify my depression as stair steps. So like it wasn't like a huge drastic change. It was like oh shit, we're at the bottom of the stairs. Something's not right here, you know. And so I started just like laying in bed a lot. And I would wake up and I'd be drenched in freaking sweat, you know. I started drinking heavily. I was drinking probably 50 ounces of Pinot Grigio daily, every day after work.
We were
Sounds
talking about
fancy.
that. Well, and we were talking about how, you know, like substance abuse is a part of domestic violence and how victims typically use substances to numb, not feel, you know, and that's a way for them to cope
And survive.
in those relationships.
Because you feel like if you aren't under some sort of influence,
That I can't possibly stand to be here.
correct?
Yeah.
Like, how can I, like, being sober, how can I endure this?
Right. I could not.
Correct.
I could not.
I know
I
that.
could not. And that is, I was drinking heavily. And then I realized, ooh, your depression's a problem, because then I started having some really unsafe thoughts. But like, I was really serious about them.
Yeah.
And I had a means to execute those thoughts. And I just remember crying alone, and I said, this is not who you are. Something's wrong, like in your brain. Like, you have to go get help. And luckily at this time I worked for a medical facility, and so I managed, well, I didn't manage nurse practitioners, I assisted them.
Right, yeah.
And I set up an appointment with one of the nurse practitioners, and I was like, I need you to help me. I need your help. And they prescribed me Klonopin because I was having serious panic attacks. I mean, I was not well. So I got Klonopin and I got Paxil, and they also prescribed me like a general anxiety medication. And I remember going home and I started taking the Paxil.
Without talking about your traumas and why you're depressed.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And I also was not in therapy at this time. I would like to know, I think medication and therapy should go hand in hand. That's very important.
Right.
So I'm taking this Paxil, and I took it was only like 1 milligram of Klonopin. I slept for 16 hours.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't even believe it. I was like, oh, like refreshed, but also like, wow, like that cannot happen.
Yeah.
Like I cannot sleep for 16 hours, you know? And so I had decided like, okay, I'm going to cut the pills. And so as I'm taking this depression medication, it literally is like a light switch. Bing, light bulb goes off. And I was like, look at the sun.
Yeah.
You're so beautiful. Oh my God, look at my house. My poor husband. Look at what I've done to him. And we were intimate for the first time in a very long time, very shortly after I started that medication.
It's a Band-Aid.
And I remember after, oh gosh, this is very personal. I sat in his lap like a baby, literally, and I was crying. And I was like, please don't leave me. I'm so sorry for what I've done to you. Ooh, that makes me ill to say it out loud. But that's why therapy is so important with medication, because you know, it's not enough to just take the medication. You know, you've got to address all the things, right? And
because emotions are energy in motion.
Yeah.
And when you don't have someone that is clinically trained to help you process and move through those emotions instead of slapping a Band-Aid, because like you said, the therapy and medication can go hand in hand, but when doctors just prescribe people things without having them talk about their experiences, that's another form of suppression. We're just gonna slap a Band-Aid on it and we're just gonna shove it down even further. And that way you never have to talk about it.
Right.
You're just happy. Look at you. Your mind's already changed.
I will
you
say
know?
that my physician, I definitely don't think that was her thought process,
Sure,
you know,
yeah.
but I do agree with you,
Yeah.
you know, and the medication worked really, really well for, I would say, like the first 30 days. And then I was like crying hysterically again. And then at this point, we've now transitioned to some very accusatory things, right? So now, you were gone for a really long time the other night. Yes. I clean 5 medical facilities 5 days a week by myself. Well, I saw a Coors Light beer can in your car. Okay, probably got a tall boy. Because I was out of line.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, maybe you did. I looked at your underwear and noticed that there was blood in it.
Oh, wow.
Yep, I am a woman. That tends to happen from time to time.
Yeah.
Usually
Sure
once a
does,
month.
you know. I had money in my wallet because I got a bonus from work, and so it was a Christmas bonus, and so I cashed the check. And I guess he went through my wallet and found that I had a USAA debit card and I had cash. And he's like, "What is this for? You have a secret bank account?" And I was like, "This is the fucking bank account that we opened when we bought our house. That has $5 in it because I can't withdraw it, so it's just an open banking account. And this is the money that I plan to use to buy your children Christmas presents. That's why I have cash." Like all of that kind of shit started happening, you know. Like, oh, I'm obviously cheating. I'm cheating. You're doing. I feel. You know what? My coworker followed you the other day while you were at work, and he said that he saw you stop at the gas station, talk to some man in a white truck.
To start making you have to over-explain and be defensive.
So then here's the fucking crazy part about it. I am now in the space of, did I do that?
Yeah.
I'm like sitting here, I'm like, I didn't go to a gas station, you know, this week. I didn't do that this week. Did I do this? Do I know anybody with a white truck? I'm like really starting to question my own reality.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I didn't do that. Like, I know I didn't do that. And so then it started getting to the point where I had to start recording our conversations, every conversation we had, because it would be like, I didn't say that to you. I never said, this is what you said. You said this. And I'm like, I didn't fucking say that. I didn't, you said this, you know? And it would just be pointless. It'd be totally pointless. And so for my own sanity, I had to literally record everything, you know? And so we're married for like about a year, and we both like start drinking. I've been drinking, baby. I was right. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And I wish I could remember what this first like fight was about. I really don't know. I don't really know how a lot of the fights would start, you know. But I had reached the point and I was like, I'm done. So I went and got a rent house. I literally did. Like, it was like across the street from where our house was. Because at this point, I'm owning a cleaning business now. Now I have my own cleaning business. I have my own clients. I'm doing very, very well. I also work full time.
Did you still guys have did you have separate finances for the most part?
No.
Okay.
My business account was separate, but we had joint finances still.
Okay.
Or at this time, I mean, not still. And so my mom came into town for like some reason, and I'm still on like the depression meds and stuff, but like at this point it's like, it's like, you're still living in your environment. You know, you can take as many pills as you want, but like if you're not going to change your environment, then it is what it is, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And so I went to go sign my lease, and my mom knew I was doing that, and so she was going to go ride with me and stuff. And so I get out of bed, and she was like, "Honey, are you gonna brush your teeth and like get dressed?" She's like, "You've been wearing the same outfit for like 4 days." And I think it was these pants actually. It's so funny. And I looked down at myself and I was like, yes, I am going to get dressed and brush my teeth. And then I was brushing my teeth and I was spitting blood out, like after brushing my teeth. And I was like, when's the last time I brushed my teeth? I'm like having these thoughts to myself.
Because your gums were so sensitive.
Yeah, I was just like, this is so odd right now, you know, but it was very telling to me, you know. Puppy boy, just calm down. So we go to sign the lease, and you know, I hired people to come move my stuff, and you know, everything in the house was mine.
Yeah.
Literally, everything was mine. Like, I paid for it. This man, when I met him, showed up with a TV and a MacBook from like 1997. Like, everything in that house was mine. And so I took my stuff and I moved into my rent house and took my medication and tried to like function as best as I could. You know what I mean? How traumatic for the children though, right?
Yeah.
Like, I tried my very best. Anytime that we would fight, it would not happen in front of those kids.
Yeah.
You know, we were not doing that in front of the kids. If the conversation was getting loud or creative, we'll talk about it in the room. We'll talk about it in a minute.
Were they pretty much with y'all full time, or?
No, I mean, once the divorce wrapped up, it ended up being, we got them like every other Wednesday, or it was like Thursdays through Sunday type situation, and like every other Wednesday. So there were times during the week that like they were there,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, and when they were there, I had to make lunch. I had to bathe. We had to be on schedule. We gotta do homework. You know, like, oh, you have a science fair project that's due tomorrow. You know, we gotta go to the store. Like, I'm like I'm mom right now. You know what I mean? And I tried my very best, and my best was not good enough, but it was the best that I knew how to do at the time. You know, and I know that me moving was a traumatic experience for those kids.
Sure.
You know, like you're
Because you
here
were
one
one of the
weekend.
constants, you know?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, of course, when I moved out, we end up talking. Let's try to work on it. Let's try to do it. You know, all that kind of stuff. And I end up moving back into our home together. And, you know, things just literally, they just didn't get better. We went to counseling. We tried to go to counseling many, many times. And we would either stop going because it was too expensive, or there was one situation where the counselor actually told my ex-husband, I will not see you if you keep pointing your finger in my face and raising your voice at me like that. Like, he was gonna fire us as patients.
Wow.
Because of how he would act in the sessions, you know what I mean?
So you were trying to reconcile and moving back in from your rent home.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's always the conversation of like, you know, okay, let's work on this. We'll communicate better. Let's go to counseling. Let's do this. Let's do that. And so, you know, I ended up moving back in, and, you know, at this point, this is 2017, you know what I mean? Like it's 2017. The entirety of our relationship was 5 years, you know? And that's a long time to be with somebody, you know?
Yeah.
I was with him from 19 to 24, you know what I mean? Like, that's
Technically 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's a big portion of your life, I think, for me at that time, to just be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna give it up. And I didn't want to be divorced. That I never wanted to be divorced. I mean, it just pained me to be like, okay, you're really gonna be divorced. And then, you know, if you remember, like, I have 5 years.
Yeah.
I gotta make it 5 years so that people can say, oh, well, they really tried.
Yeah.
You really tried your
Gave
best.
it a good go.
You know?
Yeah.
So I ended up moving back in, and I would say that was the beginning of the most extreme chaos. I think words are really important. One of the most chaotic things that I have ever dealt with in my life.
Okay. And we are going to go further into that and the second part of this episode with you, and really dive deep into what that entailed when you moved back in, how your relationship ended, and therefore after, you know. And so
Yeah.
thank you for being vulnerable and sharing.
Thanks for allowing me the space. I've never talked
You did great.
about any of this stuff.
How did that feel? Real quick before we end it, how did it feel to be able to get some of these things? And, you know, there's more to say, there's more to talk about. But, you know, did it feel like liberation, like freedom?
It feels good. It's still shocking to hear some of the things come out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm still like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Processing.
Yeah.
Because healing isn't
You know,
linear.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's still like, wow, you were really like, it's almost kind of impressive, even though impressive is not the right word to use, how well I covered a lot of things that were really going on internally.
I mean, that is impressive.
And how I really like protected that situation.
Yeah.
Because it's insane.
Yeah, well, because it's like embarrassing.
Oh,
and saving
totally.
Face, and
Totally.
then I didn't think that I would ever be the person that would be going
Well,
through, you know.
And then with
Yes.
shame and guilt, like understanding the difference between shame and guilt is, you know, the shame is I did something bad, but then we guilt ourselves and say I am bad. I'm a bad person for being in that relationship. What attracted me to that person? How did I get there? You know, and so
Why would I allow this?
yeah, we internalize the guilt that piggybacks off of shame, right, so heavily. And so I think it's really important to separate the two, you know, and recognize that it was never us. You know what I'm saying? It was never us that permitted that abuse. Abusers are predators.
Sure.
You know, and so we can recognize and become enlightened and aware of how generational trauma even, you know, brings us, you know, to these spaces in our lives.
It's like, oh, chaos is normal.
Yes, you know, and that gets normalized.
We
but-
yell at each other?
yeah.
That's so normal.
Everybody
Right,
does.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
You know, justifying that. But, you know, coming into awareness and learning to trust your gut, listening to your intuition, you know, is just so important
Yeah.
in liberating us from these, you know,
Yeah.
terrible,
So I
terrible
do want to
situations.
thank you for sharing. You are such an infectious person.
Yeah.
Like, literally, your smile is contagious. You are sunshine in human form, and you are incredibly strong. Like, genuinely, and I admire that in you. And so, like, you have my support.
We're so proud of you.
Yeah, like I'm here for it, and like, and you know, I know that we have more that we're gonna get into, but thank you for being here today.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll see you in part 2. Thank you for coming to the Marvelous
Mystonic